I wonder why we ask questions. Why is it that we cannot find the answers in ourselves? Why do we depend on others? Whether it be a psychologist, a person who is called a guru, a teacher, or from the speaker. Why? Is it that all of us are so accustomed to be guided? We seek help from others. We want guidelines. We want to be told what to do. We want to be helped. The world, as it is now, growing more and more confused, more and more horrible, and we want somebody to tell us or help us to understand ourselves and the world. And we're asking, is there any help at all from another? Then you might ask, why do we sit here and listen to you? If there is no help from another, why do we gather at all? As far as one understands, we gather not to be helped in the ordinary sense of that word, nor depend or look to the speaker. We gather together not in any spirit of authority or seeking some kind of solution to our problems, but rather meeting together to converse, to go into matters that are essential in our lives. It's a conversation between two people, between two friends. And in that conversation, each one is beginning to see clearly his own problems. Each one is observing during this conversation, this investigation together. One is beginning to see clearly for oneself what we are, what has happened to us, what are the causes that has brought us to this present condition. And in investigating together, we find not only the answer, which is not very important, but the unraveling of this whole life, the opening up, if one may use that word, into the very complex problem of humanity. If we look at it very carefully, it begins to flower, it begins to expand, begins to explode. Whatever then is perceived, understood, and lived, that brings about one's own intelligence. but to depend on others, which has become not only the fashion, but also that has been the state of man for many centuries. The priest, the soothsayer, the clairvoyant, the guru, the psychologist, you follow the whole world which says, we'll help you. Those who help us are like ourselves, confused, rather unhappy. They're like you and me. And when we do not depend on anybody, literally, inwardly, not depend on a soul, that means to be a light to oneself. One may make a mistake. We often do the things that are not correct. Regrets. And if we do not carry over day after day those regrets, those incidents that have not been correct, precise, those activities that have brought about confusion, if we see them clearly and end them immediately, then you need to ask help of nobody. Right? Do we do this? Or just carry on? I'm confused, I'm unhappy. I have followed this and I've followed that. Listen to that person or to that individual, and at the end of it all, I'm still lost. I'm still confused, unhappy. If we once see the truth that following anybody is most destructive, because it denies freedom. And if there is no freedom, there is no love. So, in answering these questions, we are together going into these matters. Not that the speaker is helping you. Not the speaker is not guiding you. For God's sake, one must realize this. Not verbally or casually, but very, very seriously. Psychologically, not to depend on anybody. We do depend outwardly. The surgeon, the doctor, and so on. The technological world, one must naturally follow somebody. But even in there, if you're merely copying, imitating, conforming, then you become another machine. Whereas, if we could really put away from our hearts and minds the reality, the truth that there is no help from outside. To don't be unhappy about it. One sees one's own conditioning then, one's own trivial, very narrow desire for help. One of the factors we should go into is the world outside and the world within. Are there two different states? Or, like a tide that goes in and out, the world is out there and we are here. There is an interrelationship between the two. It's constantly flowing back and forth. There is not this clear, definite division between the outer and the inner. It's a movement. That is, the outer, we have created the outer, the misery, the wars, the destruction, the brutality, the hatreds and antagonisms. We have created it. That is the society in which we live. And that society begins to shape us, tell us what to do. We are caught in this. So there is no division, but it's an interrelationship, right? If it is very clear that there is no division, that is like a tide with tremendous rapidity that flows in and goes out. From that question arises, these questions, it's not put here, a very fundamental question. This movement from the outer to the inner, and the inner to the outer, inner being psychological movement, which affects the outer, and the outer affects the psychological state. As long as this movement exists, we will be caught in this cycle of misery, right? The cycle of confusion. Because the outside is pushing us, give a great deal of pressure upon us, and we respond to it. Are you following? So, we are asking a very serious question, which is, can this movement of the inner to the outer and the outer to the psychological state end? Or must this everlastingly go on? Do you understand my question? Please think of, look at it. Consider it as two friends talking over together. Then what is the state of the mind, the brain, that is not caught in this movement? Is that at all possible? Is it at all possible not to respond hatred by hatred, which is what's happening inwardly? Having created confusion, seeking clarity, and that clarity is partial, and then caught again by the outer world, and so on. The back and forth. This is clear. This is what we are doing. This is actually what is taking place in all of us. Responding to the outer, which we have created, and then the outer is challenging us, and we respond to it, right? See this tremendous mechanical process of our life. And is there a cessation of this movement? Is there a freedom at all from this movement? Then, if there is, what is the quality of the brain which is not caught in these repetitive reactions? You follow? You have to find out. Through good, the speaker telling you what it is. You have to find out, work at it. Then, if one understands this process, this way of living, and if you inquire more very, very deeply, then there is a freedom which is in which there is this quality of affection, love, and so on. As long as this reaction goes on between the outer and the inner, there cannot be love. Right? Go into it. If I depend on you as my guru, and you naturally depend on me, because you can't be a guru without me. So you tell me, and I respond to you, which is out. And you follow the same phenomena going on. How can there be this sense of great love, which is intelligence, when I depend on you and you depend on me? You understand? So if that is clear, what is the state of the brain that is no longer demanding experience? You understand? The reaction to the outer and the outer challenge to oneself is a constant movement in time and experience, right? And we depend on experience to awaken us. Experience is a challenge, right? And can the brain be free of all experience and therefore all challenge, so that it is all the time awake? You understand? So that it is totally alike to itself, without any shadow. Right? Is this clear? You'll have to work, you'll have to go into it yourself if you're interested. But that is there a quality of the brain which is not slave to time, slave to the process of evolution, which is time, the gradual approach. And can the brain be so extraordinarily alive, not caught in various forms of memories, so that it is wholly awake. This is a very serious question which you have to think it over, go into. In listening, in the seeing and listening of which you speak, you see? Of which I speak. It is not we speak. Therefore, the speaker is becoming gradually the authority, which is an abomination. Because we've had leaders of every kind, political, religious, psychological, and so on. And we are where we are at the end of all these millennia. So please, it's not what the speaker is saying. The speaker is only putting into words our problems. He is the mirror into which you yourself are observing. You are the mirror, and is merely putting into words clearly, that's all. If he is the mirror, destroy it. Break it to pieces. Because the mind must be free so that it begins to live anew, afresh, and not always depend, like a child. We're all grown-up people.